What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. I'm gonna get right into it because this one moved fast and people started picking sides immediately. The documentary dropped, the internet reacts, and everybody got an opinion within minutes. That part is normal in 2025. So I'm not gonna sit here and go back over that. But what I wanna get into is the beef between Marlon Wayans and 50 Cent. What actually started this beef didn't happen on Instagram. It happened on Big Boy's neighborhood with a question. Marlon Wayans is sitting there relaxed, laughing, doing what he do. Then Big Boy asked him about 50 Cent in the documentary. Marlon starts by saying he's not defending Diddy. He says he's just talking about how narratives can get created in documentaries. So at first, nothing sounds crazy. That's a basic media answer, and most people would have let it go right there. But then he goes one step further. And that step is what set this whole thing off.
It's between him and Puff. And before it's between him and Puff, it's between both of them and God. Just the way Puff is down on his luck and 50's kicking the man when he's down.
God is going to.
If 50 ever luck turned up on 50, you know, that you got to be careful what you put out. There's a karma to every action that you do.
Think we'll see that?
Marlon tells 50 to be careful about what he puts into the word. He says karma is real. And he says it like it's a warning. That's the moment it stopped being about editing and narratives. That's the moment it became a moral judgment in public. You can't say you're not defending the man and then threaten the other man with cosmic consequences. That's not neutral. That's protection with better PR. That clip hit the internet fast. And the headline everywhere became 50 is kicking a man while he down. That line did all the damage by itself. Because now 50 is not a producer in people's mind. He's the villain of the week. Within a day, 50 responds. No explanations, no interviews, no thought pieces. He posts a white chick's image of Marlon, and he tells him to keep his name out his mouth. That post wasn't a joke. That post was image war, not a word war. It hit Marlon where his brand lives. It hit the contradiction between moral posture and career choices all at once. Marlon comes back with a video saying he was misunderstood. He says he was just giving his opinion and people took it too far. But he never takes the karma statement back. And that's why this beef won't cool down. Now enter Ja Rule, like he been waiting on his invite to the drama. And he jumps in loud with all emotion and no strategy. Ja calls 50 a rat. Then in the same breath, he starts listing 50's legal history. You can't call somebody a snitch and then talk about alleged allegations. That is telling about somebody while complaining about telling. And then Ja takes it further by bringing AI pictures into real life beef. He starts posting AI generated images of 50 to mock him and distort the play. Now we ain't just dealing with opinions. Now we dealing with fake visuals entering a real narrative. That's a dangerous turn because once you mix emotion with artificial reality, confusion becomes the product. Then Ja says he gonna make his own documentary. And that statement alone tells you he don't understand how the game really works. Film and television ain't just ideas, it's infrastructure, relationships, money, and distribution. Everybody can talk about making a documentary, but only a few people can actually get one green lit. 50 can pick up a phone and get a platform on the line. Ja can pick up a phone and start an argument. That ain't hate, that's positioning. And position is what this whole situation is really about. Now that the lines are drawn, we got to talk about what Marlon actually said and what it really meant. Because karma sounded spiritual on the surface, but it landed political in practice. When you tell a man to be careful for holding somebody accountable, you are shifting blame without taking responsibility. You're saying the exposure is more dangerous than the behavior being exposed. That's a backwards moral compass. And I don't care how smooth you try to dress it up. Warning the messenger is not the same as protecting the truth. Marlon says he's not defending Diddy, but karma only gets brought up when you feel like somebody is doing wrong. So if 50 is wrong for telling the story, then who is exactly right in this situation? The middle is quiet and karma is loud. Now, let me go where people get uncomfortable. I have never been a fan of a grown black man making a career out of putting on a white woman's face and mannerisms. That's cultural profit off the same stereotypes we say we hate. So don't lecture 50 about moral high ground when your success came from a costume that mocked identity for a check. Then you turn around and call 50 Cent 12 years a slave like he's the one being exploited. If owning your platform is slavery, then what you been doing since you was 18 years old in Hollywood? Marlon been in the industry his whole adult life. You do not survive that long without learning how power really works. So for you to be shocked that a man with leverage actually used it, that's acting naive. That's selective outrage. Now, let's get this clear for everybody who's still confused. This documentary was gonna be made with 50 or without him. Somebody was going to tell this story, and it probably wasn't going to be a hip-hop voice. It was going to be a network voice with no cultural loyalty and no context. So the real question is not why 50 did it. The real question is, who would you have rather done it? Because when somebody does it outside the culture, people yell exploitation. But when somebody inside the culture does it, suddenly it's karma and kicking a man while he down. Y'all want the story told, not just by somebody you can't control. And to me, that's the heart of this whole problem. Now let's pivot back to Ja Rule.
Nobody, please.
Find Ja Rule, get hold of this motherfucker so I can make sense of all this.
Because his role in this is pure chaos with no strategy. He called 50 a rat and then proceeded to do exactly the same thing he accused him of. Then he escalated it into something even more dangerous. He introduced AI-generated images into a real-life conflict. That means we ain't just dealing with words no more. We dealing with fabricated visuals. And in a culture that already struggles with distinguishing real from fake, that is gas on a bonfire. You don't play with visual truth in a beef like this, because some people can't tell the difference and some people don't give a f. Then Ja says he gonna make a documentary too. And that let me know he got the noise part of the game confused with the machine part of the game. Documentaries ain't just cameras and opinions. They're lawyers, insurance, clearances, budgets, and distribution. They're relationships that take years to build and seconds to lose. 50 can actually make that call and get a project moving. Ja can make a post and get a reaction. And those are two different languages. This whole situation ain't about beef. It's about who got real influence and who just got real emotion. And those two things do not move at the same speed. Now that we broke down the positions, we got to talk about the truth everybody dancing around. This ain't about a documentary. This ain't about a meme, and this damn sure ain't about karma. This is about how people react when power shifts in a way they didn't approve of. Because when a man with real leverage uses it, everybody who benefited from silence suddenly wants to have a meeting about tone. Marlon Wayans didn't like the energy of the documentary, but he didn't have a problem with the documentary as a concept. He had a problem with who made it and what it exposed. He said he was not defending Diddy, but everything about his warning said the exact opposite. You do not tell a man to feel karma unless you think he's doing something wrong. So the real question is, what exactly did 50 do wrong? Is it wrong to make a documentary? Or is it only wrong when the documentary is about somebody you had history with? Because if truth is dependent on relationships, then truth ain't truth. It's loyalty in a costume pretending to be morality. And nobody does that more than the entertainment culture. People don't want accountability. They want selective authority. People don't want accountability. They want selective accountability. They want to call out who's safe to call out while protecting whoever helped them get a check. And when you break that pattern, people start talking about bad timing and karma. Now let's talk about karma, because that word gets thrown around like it's a guaranteed delivery service. People say it like every wrongdoer receives a package on their doorstep with consequences inside. But I've lived long enough to know it don't work like that. A lot of people got away with a lot of things and never paid a price for it, and y'all know that. So when Marlon talks about karma like it's a law of physics, it makes it sound like he's trying to soften the reality of the documentary. He's trying to shift the spotlight away from the behavior and onto the person who pointed out the behavior. And that ain't just contradiction, that's misdirection. That's magic trick language in a real life situation. Now, let's bring it back to Ja Rule, because his part in this really shows you how far people will go to distort a conversation. When you introduce AI into a real beef, you ain't fighting no more, you fabricating. That means the argument ain't even about truth. It's about who can fool the audience first. AI is not just a meme when you use it in conflicts like this. It's a weapon. And when you point that weapon at real people, you create a future where anybody can be framed by a laptop. Ja Rule using AI wasn't just petty, it was dangerous. It opened the door we can't pretend ain't open no more. Now, I'm gonna break it down like this. Marlon Wayans is not wrong for having an opinion, but he is wrong for disguising that opinion as morality. If you're gonna stand on it, then stand on it without using karma as a safety net. Say you don't like 50 doing a documentary and own that position as a man. And Ja Rule ain't wrong for having emotion, but he is wrong for using AI to fuel confusion. And 50 ain't wrong for making a documentary, because whether you like him or not, the truth was going to be told. The only question is who you trusted to tell it. The culture got mad at the messenger instead of being honest about the message. And that is a pattern we got to break if we ever want to see real accountability. Because at some point, we got to stop arguing about who said what and start paying attention to why they said it. Everybody ain't wrong for having an opinion, but every opinion is not built on the truth. Some of it's fear, some of it's image, and some of it is people just trying to hold on to a world that don't exist no more. But the one thing I know for sure, accountability don't get canceled just because people don't like the source. Truth is not a bully. Truth is just a part of the story nobody could hide any longer. So whether it's karma, AI images, or public opinion, none of that changes what really happened. None of that erases the pattern, the power, or the consequences that came with it. I don't side with emotion. I side with reality. And reality is simple. If you don't want a story told about you, you don't live a story that deserves a documentary. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe, establish rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.